Hi, I'm Dalen Elstram, and this is my individual reflection on the computer science capstone at the midterm point in the semester. So my team is me, William Guy, Matt Sutton, Megan Hansen, Ned Van Brugel, and Tabitha Scalioni. My role within that, because we all have different roles, even though we do help each other out. My role in the project is the user interface UX engineer. And Ned and I share this role of just creating a positive user experience, designing a user interface, and software behavior. So essentially, where Matt kind of deals with the back end, Ned and I deal with the front end, and just do the heavy lifting of the programming and the project. So speaking of the project, so we are working on an app called Gold, and it's essentially a habit tracker with a social media aspect in it. We came up with this idea. We kind of threw around the idea. I think it was Megan's at first. She had mentioned that she kind of felt the need for an app where she could maybe share her workouts with her friends and other people that had kind of the same goals as her. She could share this on a social media that's just for holding people accountable, right? And making sure everybody's following their goals, hence the name Gold. So like I said, it's a habit tracking app. So you can say it can be for working out, it can be for reading, it can be for studying, it can be, it's completely user dependent. And that social media component, what I mean by that is people can interact with your post when you post and say, hey, I didn't meet my goal this week, but here's some progress I made, or I met my goal, here's my next one. So the social media aspect of that is your followers can interact with your posts and they can react to it, they can comment. And so that's where we get that social media interaction. And it's all built with Svelte, which has been super fun to learn throughout this project. My role in the team and what I've done so far and what I plan to do. So far, I made the account settings page. Um, I have a little bit of work done on the administrative panel. And the administrative panel is just administrators in the app because every user has their own login and stuff. So we have administrators. The admin panel is essentially a page that will list all of the users and it will give the administrators access to delete a user, change a username, change a password, just so administrators don't have to go into the back end, into that database to make those changes. There's a way to do that with an interface. My other plans for this sprint are for a comment feature and an appreciation feature. Those have not yet been completed just because we are waiting for the actual post feature. But when that occurs, the comment feature essentially it's self-explanatory. Users can comment on a post, and then how that will work essentially is you'll have a post in the database, and then with that there'd be an associated comment, right? And then the appreciation feature is essentially kind of like Instagram, how you can react with to stories with emojis. So the appreciation feature will you can react with like a clapping emoji or a thumbs up emoji or something of that sorts. So my experience has overall been very positive. I've had a lot of fun working with this team and getting to know them just as software engineers and also as people. Some major things I've noticed is everybody really respects each other's time. We make sure to find a time that works for everybody for our meetings. We keep it concise. We do our work, and nobody's really slacking. Nobody's falling behind, which I really appreciate. And that leads right into my next point. Everybody pulls their own weight. Everybody's getting their own work done. And that's not to say everybody's perfect. I know in my personal experience, at the end of the first sprint, I was supposed to have the administrative panel done, but there were just some quirks with it, some things I couldn't really figure out. And so after talking with some of my team members, they helped me figure out what I needed to do to overcome the obstacles I had when making the administrative panel. And I really appreciate that. So that's what I mean when I say everybody is understanding of setbacks. They totally understand. I've got this class, but I've also got 5 other classes, and everybody's in the exact same boat. So everybody's very understanding, which is really appreciative. And like I said, everyone pitches in and helps members who need it. I think one of our last meetings, I came to them and I was like, guys, here's the account settings page. I really wish I could have gotten more work done on the administrative panel. Here's what I have. And like I said, they walked me through what I needed to fix the problems I had. And I'm really excited to go ahead and finish that page and show it to them. So this is our project so far. Essentially, we've got the back end, right? So we've got our database. And so our database right now is just 5 tables. So we've got the main table, I think would be the authorized user. So this is once a user logs in, we've got, all that user's information. The user session is essentially kind of like the cookies, right? Their posts are things that user posts to their profile. Posts medals users is essentially kind of an add-on to the post, and then follows is going to be a table of every user. They have this list of people they follow, and all this code can be found at our GitHub. And so as for user interface, we have this sign up and login page. Right now we're kind of going for functionality, and we'll pretty it up later. So right now we have a sign up and a login. It's pretty self-explanatory. For first-time users, they go, if they pull up the login page, it has a button that says, "Hey, sign up," because they know they don't have a login yet. And we have it so that if you log in with a username that hasn't, it's not in the database yet, it tells you that, right? You get an error. And so we go in, and if you put in the correct username, wrong password, you also get an error. So we do have that security feature. And as for the sign up, we just take first and last name, username, and password. And then from there in the back end, there's a user, and you can see it on the database here. We've got a hashed password. We don't keep just the password in the database for security's sake. The account settings page is something that I worked on personally. So we have a reset username and a reset password kind of block on this account settings page. The idea is a user would be logged into their account, and then say they want to reset their password or reset their username. Later in the project, this will have change a profile picture, maybe delete a post, right? But for now, it just has reset username, where you just put in the old username, your password, and your new username, and that updates the database. And then we have a reset password. And that's the exact same thing. You just put in the username, the old password, and then your new password. And then you're prompted to log in yet again. And that being said, that's the project so far. Like I said, I've really enjoyed working with this team, and I'm really excited to see what we continue to do.